Yakuza has always been known for its unpredictable nature. Violence, twists and other unexpected moments are a big part of the franchise's popularity. So with the surprising move from brawling to turn-based combat, the question is, can Yakuza make the switch and still make people happy? I'm Luke and here's my review of Yakuza Like a Dragon for GameLuster. Yakuza Like a Dragon is a bold new entry in the franchise. The adventures of the legendary Dragon of Dojima came to an end with Yakuza 6, and now a new protagonist steps up to take the lead. Enter Ichiban Kasuga. Freshly released from prison after taking the fall to protect another member of his Yakuza family, Ichiban discovers the world is completely changed. And more shockingly, he learns that his former patriarch and father figure Masumi Arakawa betrayed the Tojo clan and helped the Omi alliance take over Kamurocho. After Arakawa shoots him and dumps his body in Ijincho, Kasuga is left in a scary new world trying to build a new life for himself. So I guess we should start by talking about the biggest change in the new entry. Previous Yakuza games had a more open, brawling style of combat, but Like a Dragon makes the risky choice to switch to classic turn-based combat. And for the most part, it works. It's not perfect, but the main reason I think it works is because it doesn't feel like Yakuza with turn-based combat, but instead it feels like a turn-based combat game in the Yakuza style.
Here for one. Allow me.
And you can equip your party members with jobs such as Chef, Idol, or Host, among many others. Idol, for example, is the healer class, while Chef is more damage focused. The new turn-based system feels like the developer's excuse to lean even harder into the sort of slapstick violence longtime fans would expect from a Yakuza game. In earlier entries, Kiryu wouldn't just smash faces with his fists, but swing bicycles around and slam people into walls. And this turn-based combat gives you a way to get even more creative in your ways of inflicting pain. The Host class, for example, can attack his targets by spraying a cold bottle of champagne over them or smash them over the head with a cake.
Congratulations!
It's not just about picking a move and waiting though. Yakuza incorporates some simple button pressing to potentially increase the amount of damage a move can do, or reduce damage from an incoming attack, which keeps the game feel a bit more active and more involved in the combat. And it still has a few uniquely Yakuza touches to it as well. For example, if a character is standing near something like a bicycle or a traffic cone, when they initiate a basic attack instead of striking normally, the character might kick the item at their target, or even pick it up and strike them with it for additional damage. The other option you have is if a target is knocked down by an attack, then another character can quickly follow up with a basic attack to deal extra damage. This system isn't perfect though. While the frequent silliness and the slapstick humour that comes from the combat is constantly very fun to watch, the turn-based combat itself feels like it's lacking depth. In major boss fights, for example, it didn't feel like there was much strategy involved. It was just keep trying to manage buffing and debuffs, keep healing your team up, and hope you can hold out against the boss. It's worse that most bosses just have a massive pool of health and no real weaknesses, which just made a lot of them feel like a massive slog to get through. I'll be honest, I also kind of wasn't a fan of the fact that some jobs are locked to specific genders. While every character has a job that's exclusive to them, like Namba's homeless job, the men have access to jobs such as chef, musician, or breaker, while the women have access to jobs specifically such as hostess, idol, or night queen. And considering that Idol is pretty much the best healer in the game and there's only 2 women that join the party, it's kind of limiting in how you want to organise your party. That being said, for its few flaws, I did really enjoy the turn-based combat. It's engaging, it's challenging, and it's filled with so much slapstick humour that only the Yakuza games can pull off.
Okay.
Moving on, the other big change is that Yakuza Like a Dragon is the first game to not feature Kazuma Kiryu as the lead protagonist. This time, the events are led by a new hero, Ichiban Kasuga, and replacing Kiryu is no easy feat, but simply put, Kasuga is an absolute delight.
Hey, how's it going? Well, Namba-san, you tried to play nice, but you know what? Fuck these guys.
Kasuga still shares some of Kiryu's best traits. He's unquestionably a good person, an old school Yakuza that believes they should be looking out for the common guy and trying to protect them. He's also obsessed with Dragon Quest, which they seem to use as an explanation for the game's shift to turn-based combat. An early conversation between Kasuga and a fellow Yakuza seems to imply that during fights, what the player is seeing is not the fight as it happens, but the way Ichiban is imagining it in his head. Dragon Quest delusions aside, Ichiban is almost a complete opposite of Kiryu otherwise. He's much more impulsive, emotional and headstrong, and his desire to be a hero often leads him to try and help people without really considering the danger that could be involved, or if he's even really qualified to do it. Ichiban's not alone in this adventure though. As his adventures continue, he's joined by a range of characters such as a former detective, Koichi Adachi, and a homeless man named Yu Namba, and each character has their own stories. Adachi, for example, is filled with regret over a case that led to a wrongful conviction, and getting to know these characters and their struggles is what makes them more interesting, and it's a really worthwhile endeavour. Yakuza Like a Dragon also features full English voice acting. Yeah, I know Judgment did it as well. However, this is the first mainline Yakuza game to feature English voice acting since the original Yakuza in 2005. Maybe it's heresy? But honestly, I really enjoyed playing it with the English dub. All the voice actors are really well cast, especially Keiji Tang, who brings Ichiban to life beautifully. From his childlike enthusiasm to the more emotional moments. The English dub is fantastic, and honestly I think it's worth playing it with that on. Unless playing with Japanese voice acting on is some kind of requirement to you. However, it wouldn't be a Yakuza game without an abundance of bizarre side content. Minigames, side stories, and other interesting escapades are all scattered across the streets of Injincho, just waiting to be found. Passing by certain locations in the world might even trigger fun little conversations between your party, such as Adachi's experience with a haunted laundry machine. I get the feeling that because the turn-based combat takes Yakuza's typical brand of silliness to a higher level, the developers felt they had to ramp up the absurdity of side content as well. There's side stories that include a giant Roomba, incredibly spicy kimchi, or a circus led by an incredibly bad animal tamer.
Oh shit. Don't tell me. Clara's on the digger!
To be honest, Kiryu's escapades in previous Yakuza games look normal in comparison to Kasuga's adventures, such as having to fight an excavator being controlled by an escaped monkey. On the minigame side of things, Kasuga can end up managing a confectionery business by buying properties and dealing with angry shareholders.
My partners and shareholders! Please accept my most humble apology!
There's also some good old-fashioned Yakuza karaoke.
Go!
There's also kart racing, collecting cans for recycling, or watching old movies at a vintage cinema and trying not to fall asleep. Like previous games, Yakuza uses its unique brand of absurdist humour to make the side content worth investing time into, and it makes for a great change of pace from the main narrative's dark and gritty crime story. One second you're helping a nervous tour guide lead people around Chinatown, the next you're getting caught up in a dangerous conspiracy that threatens the safety of Ijincho. It shouldn't work, but it always does. The silly moments offset the more dramatic scenes, and if anything, I think the conflicting tones are what help make the game's more emotional scenes more powerful. The story itself centers on Kasuga as he attempts to rebuild his life in Ijincho. However, his attempts to help people draw him into a dangerous plot that threatens to destroy the balance in Ijincho. It's filled with great characters, and Kasuga's party especially has great banter and frequently funny conversations. All of the party members are really interesting to talk to, and they have stories of their own that are worth listening to. However, it's Kasuga at the core of this adventure, and as each person mainly has their own reasons for joining up with him, it's Kasuga's pure nature that keeps them around. However, I do feel like the story suffers from having one too many twists. There's some really great stuff in there that will catch you off guard. However, some of the major beats just don't quite land and ultimately feel unnecessary to the story. The last big change is that Yakuza Like a Dragon features a whole new city, Ijincho. Truthfully, it's not as visually exciting as Kamurocho, but it's still well crafted and enjoyable to walk around. However, I couldn't help but feel that the bulk of the game's main story takes place on the southern end of the map, and nothing outside of a few sub-stories and maybe a couple of late game story events really happen on the northern end of it. So, what would my final verdict be on this bold, exciting new chapter in the Yakuza franchise?
Yes!
Yeah! Ready? You're the man! You're the man! You're the man!
Ichiban Kasuga and his merry band of misfits make the perfect squad to carry on the long-running franchise. While the switch to turn-based combat isn't perfect, it gets enough right that I hope they continue to build and improve on it with future entries. I just hope the next one doesn't take as long to localise as Like a Dragon did. So that's my thoughts on Yakuza Like a Dragon. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe to GameLuster here on YouTube and check out GameLuster.com for more articles. Thanks for watching.
I'm such a mess, I'm lost, I'm no good at this. I'm in love, still in love, still in love with you. Hard as I try, I can't even drink this pain away. Memories of you, twisting my view. I've been a fool.